Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and people forgot, but Cap also got a rework for Endgame. He got changes to skills 1, 3, or 1, 5, and 4. So we're checking those out today. We're seeing how much stronger he is. I don't really expect Cap to be stronger because he was already super duper strong, but it's nice to see his animations. They're beautiful, and I do think that while he didn't really get a buff, I do think that he has more hits on his 5th skill, which is now nice, and it's a nice way to set yourself up with trying to proc your CTP of energy or your CTP of rage, depending on what you're using, because you'll be able to get those hits off more consistently. It's a little bit longer of an animation, his 5th skill, and you have to kind of hold it a little bit longer than the old 5th skill, which you could just cancel as soon as he bumps into the enemy. But I do like his 5th skill. It rackets around, and it seems that it's possibly better for PvP. So I want to not necessarily investigate that, but I want to talk about that a little bit. So the first thing I wanted to test out was how fast he would clear it. So this was 4 minutes and 1 second. The comparison clear with the same strikers and almost an identical team is 4 minutes 4 seconds that I did 2 days ago on the top 5 teams for Thanos World Boss Ultimate. It's the same stage, stage 25, and the only difference in this team is that I'm using Shuri instead of Coulson because I accidentally used Coulson in a previous clear on the live stream last night. So I think his damage is pretty much identical, if not better, considering the fact that I'm only getting Beast's guaranteed crit rate rather than getting the larger 20% crit rate, guaranteed crit rate buff from Coulson. But now let's jump into another test, another clear for a stage. This is going to be Proxima, stage 60, which we also did recently. We're going to use the same team again, almost identical. The last time we used Hyperion and Coulson. We're going to use Beast and Shuri. It's pretty similar. We're just missing a little bit of guaranteed crit rate, and we're going to use the exact same strikers that we used last time. But yeah, I think the only thing, not a huge difference, and I think most people have already purchased Cap's uniform, so they don't really care that it's better because it was already godly. But I think the only thing is you don't want to cancel 5 as early. You may still want to cancel 5 early depending on what's going on, but I think the only difference now is that the positioning of Cap is a little bit more challenging. So I think that's something you guys are going to find. His 5th skill puts him kind of far away, and this is what you're going to notice against Proxima. I'm kind of far away from her with the 5th skill, so it makes chaining into the 4th skill a little bit harder than it used to be. So you may still want to just cancel 5 just for the ease of that situation, but you know, you don't necessarily have to cancel 5. And I think for PvP, his 5th skill might be better. I'm not exactly sure. But the time to beat this time around, although we don't have the Beast buff at the beginning, so that is a bit of a difference, is 3.5 minutes to get down to, we gotta switch here, 3.5 minutes to get down to 7 bars. So we're gonna see if Cap can do that. I don't know if we switched last time, but you know, generally speaking, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, and it's not gonna be exactly the same. But as long, come on, Cap, we gotta switch to you, buddy. We got 30 seconds to get through this. As long as it's roughly similar, you know that there isn't any debuff, and he didn't actually get worse. That's really all that matters. And you can see his damage is actually tremendously strong, and he just hits a lot harder on his. It seems like he hits a lot harder on his 4th skill, but I think he just has more damage on 1 and 5. Especially if you let those animations play out in full. They have more hits now, so more hits combined with that all defense down from the 4 combined with your CTP of rage, and there you go. Even though I switched with Cap, switched to Shuri and I lost about 10 seconds, we were able to do this in 3 minutes and 35 seconds. The old clear with the same strikers and almost the same team, it was Hyperion and Coulson instead of Beast and Shuri, cleared it in 3 minutes and 32 seconds. There was a little bit more damage because it was switched over to 6 bars, but it's like a tickle's worth of damage. Now I want to show you guys something completely different, and I'm not exactly sure how to explain this, but we're going to go into a stage 55 of Ebony, okay, and we're going to use this team, all right? Now, the shock damage doesn't apply, so that's something to keep in mind. But otherwise, let's just check this out. Let's just see what happens. We're going to sub some of these strikers out for some of the better mind control strikers because we do want them this time around. But we still need the healing and we still need the crit rate. But Cap, because I don't know if it's because of the lightning damage. I'm not saying he needs a lightning. He needs a lightning obelisk. I would not give him a lightning obelisk, so please don't take that as like, you know, a suggestion. And I'm not sure if he could actually do this before or not. But again, and it may be in part because of the CTP of rage. It may be because of the all defense down from his 4th skill, but he's able to do this to do damage. And I mean, you can have, if you get enough all defense down from your strikers, you guys know any character pretty much can clear a stage if you get enough all defense down stacked up. So we're going to try to get his tier 3 skill popped off here. We didn't do any damage that time around, but with 4, you can see he is doing damage. With 4, 5, and 1, specifically, he's able to do some damage, which is actually pretty wild, considering that, you know, he's a physical damage dealing character. Ebony has, of course, basically immunity to most physical damage, if not all physical damage. It does 1 damage to him, and you do see the 1s there when I do other skills. But when you do 5, 4, and 1, you can see that there's actually damage. You know, it's not impressive damage. I'm not saying it's like crazy numbers here, guys, but it's actual damage. And if this were a lower stage, Cap could definitely do it. If I was getting more help from my strikers, Cap might be able to do this stage. You know, given more help and given that he can sync up the all defense down with some of his abilities a little bit better. So it's interesting to see, like right there with the all defense down and his 4th skill, because there is some, I guess there is some typing as elemental. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Again, CTP of Rage is going to be the best option for you. I can't explain if it's the CTP of Rage that's doing it or if it's something else. I imagine that it's something else just because his other skills aren't doing damage, even though I have a CTP of Rage. And I don't think I've seen someone doing this with Cap before he got this buff. So there may be some hidden lightning damage typed. Still, again, I want to just triple check that I'm not suggesting that you guys give him a lightning damage proc. It would be hilarious to test it out, possibly, or you could just test it out with Lincoln's leadership. But yeah, he seems to do pretty well, and he seems to have shock damage that is able to do enough damage to Ebony so that basically Cap can do almost all of the world bosses. He can't do Call Obsidian, but he can do pretty much everyone else. He obviously spanks Proxima and Corvus. He can also do Thanos, and now we can actually go back and try this time with Coulson for that 60% additional lightning damage. Now, again, you don't really know what it's a combination of. There's so many different things going on. There's Captain America's all defense down. There's the Striker all defense down. There is the CTP of Rage. And then you also have, of course, his skills themselves with the shock damage. And while the shock damage does appear to say immune, you can see shock immunity keeps popping up there. At the same time, you can see that the damage, you know, it fluctuates. There's moments where he does very, very low damage, and then there's moments where he does a lot more damage, as you can see, especially if you get that proc to land during the all defense down, and then you get to pop that 4th skill at the same time. So really cool. I mean, just more flexibility, more value for Captain America. It would be very interesting to possibly, actually, you know what? If we can test him on a lightning immune stage, you're going to see the shock immunity. He might kill them too fast, but testing it on a shock immune stage or a lightning immune stage in Shadowland would actually be a good way to recognize if he can do that. So let me just be right back. So we finally found the stage on 40 of Shadowland. This is a relay that has electric immunity. We're going to test it out first with a Nebula stage, or with Nebula on the stage, to verify that there is in fact lightning immunity, that it's not just something that's written there and that's not actually there. And so we're going to see here that all of her skills pop up this lightning immunity, and you can see that while they have just over 1 million health each, none of them are taking any damage from any of her attack. But her basic attack, which apparently is just physical damage, does actually do damage. Her basic, but not any of her skills. So now let's check out, now let's investigate exactly what's happening. We're going to see shock immunity from Captain America, but are we also going to see lightning immunity? If you only see shock immunity, and it might be hard to tell, then that means that it's just the shock damage. But if there's also lightning immunity, then that's different. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's hidden lightning damage, because we did do damage, but you can see very clearly that there's not only, they do take the bleed, but it appears that there is lightning immunity popping up. Now, I don't know if the game differentiates between lightning and shock damage. It might not, in which case that wouldn't be the case. We're going to reset this again. I don't want to kill them. I don't want to finish the stage. But let's try this one more time. We're going to try his 5th skill. It might kill them. Hopefully he doesn't kill all 3 of them. His skills are just so beautiful, but hopefully he's not that strong. I actually don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to do 4. That will probably kill them. But yeah, that is full damage. So, oh, there's lightning immunity there. So as you can see, when the hammer is bouncing around, there is lightning damage, and that is triggering the lightning immunity. So that's what I would guess. It seems that it's almost entirely physical, but there is a portion of the skill where the Mjolnir lightning is bouncing around, and that would be lightning, and that could be what is doing damage to Ebony, because we know that while Nebula can't do high stages of Ebony, Nebula can do some damage to Ebony, and even someone like Molten Man can also do some damage to Ebony Maw, because although they are typed as elemental physical damage, that elemental can still squeak through, and even someone like Ghost Panther can do a little bit of damage. If you can apply enough all defense down, it appears that they can do even more damage. So damn, the lightning damage, the shock damage, so it's not just shock damage, it appears that it's also some lightning damage is getting through on top of the rest of his damage for his first skill, Worthy Uppercut, his 4th skill, Captain's Hammer, and then Mjolnir's Justice. And of course, why wouldn't it? Because it only makes sense because he's got Thor's hammer, and Thor's, of course, dealing lightning damage. So very, very cool changes to Captain America's uniform. Overall, I would say that I'm obviously very happy with them. I like the look with the helmet now, with this base uniform. And although you don't get to see the hammer, you don't get to see him holding the hammer at all times, you do get to see him whip the hammer out, and I do think that it's beautiful. Well, you actually don't see it here. They didn't update that skill. You see the hammer at the end, but here, of course, ooh, you see the hammer, and you see some really juicy moves. And although I can't really showcase it today for now, I may make a video about it later. I do have a sneaking suspicion that Captain America might be a lot better for PvP with his new 5th skill and his new 1st skill. They may have enhanced guard break capabilities, possibly guard break immunity penetration. We have to test that out still, but that is something that I am a little bit curious about to see. So, as I've said before in the previous video for Iron Man, and as I say in other videos, if you out there have a tier 3 Captain America with a defensive build, like an obelisk with invincibility and guard break immunity, or a CTP of authority, or a CTP of regen, and you regularly use Captain America in PvP, so you're comfortable with checking him out, and you have this uniform, please let me know how you think his new 1st skill, 4th skill, and 5th skill compared to the old ones, and how well he does. I saw some really nice action with his 5th skill, just kind of bouncing the hammer back and forth against Jean, but it was just one match. It was a very short clip that I kind of just saw, I glanced at as I was dying, as Cap was dying, so it isn't really enough for me to say anything with concrete certainty, but it's something that I want to throw out to the community and maybe basically get your ideas rolling and get the opinion started, the foundation, so that maybe we can come to a conclusion as to how good Cap is for PvP. But he's still an absolute monster, very much worthy of the beyond Mythic tier, Omega tier, for the tier list. So hit me up in the comments, let me know if there are any PvP Captain Americas out there and what you think of this uniform, or do you think it's worse? I have heard some people saying that they think the 5th skill is worse. I don't think so. I don't see it, but possibly. Hit me up in the comments, hit me up on Discord, you can send me videos there, Twitter, etc. Subscribe if you enjoy the content, you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you later today. Take care.